Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm finally back to recap episodes 3 and 4 of And Just Like That. I know that I'm late, but I, like many other people, caught COVID over the holidays. So I was not about to get on camera and let y'all see me like that. I had a very mild case, but it was not looking good face-wise. So I'm back to catch up with you guys. I'm going to combine 3 and 4, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do 5 and 6 together. We'll see what happens. Today, right now, we're here for episodes 3 and 4. So let's start off with episode 3. Okay, so Carrie discovers that Big left Natasha $1 million in his will, and this resurrects all of Carrie's insecurities that she never let go of in terms of the Natasha storyline. If you watch the show, you know, Carrie wanted forgiveness for being Big's mistress. You know, she wanted Natasha to forgive her so badly. And in the show, I feel like Carrie came to a place where she recognized the person who she needed to forgive was herself. And she also needed Aiden to forgive her, but that's, you know, we're not here for that. I don't know if this is a storyline that I would have wanted had it not been presented. It's fine that it's there, but it's so shitty that once again, like Big, even in death, is making Carrie insecure, and that even after years of them being happy and having this joyful marriage, he was still capable of igniting this insecurity in her. And it's really complicated to have unfinished business with the dead, because where do you put, you know, those feelings? And so Carrie, who's already like not eating and not sleeping, she starts spiraling because she needs to know, why would he leave her this money? Were they still in contact even while they were married? She's like looking for passwords and all of this stuff. And watching her spiral like that, it's peak Carrie. This is what Carrie used to do on the show. And you want to believe that someone in their 50s has grown out of this. And no. So she stalks Natasha, you know, tries to follow her on Instagram, shows up at her job. And then they have this meet ugly, not a meet cute, but a meet ugly at this coffee shop. Carrie burns her hands, and they finally have this conversation where, you know, Natasha gives her some ice for her hand and, you know, reveals she has these 2 sons. And what it made me think about is something that I think we were all aware of. Natasha didn't have an easy go of it with Big. Natasha knew that Big was always in love with Carrie anyway. So the same insecurity that Carrie had about Natasha, it seems that Natasha had it as well, but she had to deal with it first. She married him so young and like gave up a career so young. I think in the show, like she was like maybe 25 or something like that when she got with Big, who was at the time like in what, his 40s or 50s. And I think that maybe it was helpful for Carrie to even know that she wasn't alone in that insecurity. And so, you know, they move on. So Charlotte's daughter tells her that she does not feel like a girl. Charlotte, who I told you I find her to be incredibly draining, she wants to handle this so perfectly and respectfully, but like Anthony told her, you're not going to, you'll cross that bridge when you get to it. Maybe it's a phase, maybe it isn't. I'm happy that at least Charlotte cares. I'm happy that at least she didn't completely freak out and that she's trying to ask the right questions. I just find Charlotte to be like a right-wing Republican. So we'll see how this works. I was surprised that she was even this open to it and that her desire to be a good mom in that regard was even this good, to be honest. Because y'all know, I just do not see it for Charlotte outside of her fashions. I'm looking at notes. Sorry, I want to make sure I keep up with everything. Steve and Miranda have not had sex in years. Years? I find stuff like that to be so horrifying because I don't like the idea that you get in a relationship and you're your partner just kind of becomes just your partner or just your roommate, and you just have the project of raising this kid. And like, that made me so sad. The other thing that you guys pointed out to me that I did not pick up on episode 1 and 2 is that Miranda does have a drinking problem. And so Charlotte finds these little Tito's bottles in Miranda's bag, and Charlotte tries to talk to Carrie about this. And the way Carrie just kind of wrote it off was annoying for me, because I know that like Charlotte can be a worrywart. And also, discussing alcoholism is challenging too, right? Because how can you know the difference between you and your friend every now and again get together and y'all have, you know, several cocktails versus your friend needs to drink many bottles of alcohol throughout the day? And then it's like, well, the pandemic, and it's like, yeah, but the other thing that happened during the pandemic, and that is actively happening during the pandemic, is that people who were struggling with substance abuse issues continued to struggle with substance abuse issues, and even people who had gotten sober were no longer sober because of the pandemic. So I just felt like Carrie should have paid a little bit more attention. I understand she's grieving, but Miranda has always been so attentive and such a loyal and sincere friend that it was disappointing to me to see Carrie kind of write off Charlotte's concerns. But it could also be the fact that like Charlotte is always concerned about everything, and so like maybe it's the boy who cries wolf there. So Shay has a comedy show. I felt like this comedy show was a bit on the nose. I felt like, was this a TED Talk or a comedy show? I feel like the representation that they wanted for the non-binary, the LGBTQIA+ community, they wanted that conversation so badly, and this was the tool they used to have it, to communicate the fact that why is the queer character always sad and alone? Why is there always only one? Why is there only one in a group of cishet people? These are all very valid observations and critiques of the way that media treats and has treated that community. But that didn't feel like a comedy show to me. It felt like we were being taught very on the nose, this is what we want you to know. And I think that there were maybe some other creative tools that could have been used to communicate that. I didn't hate it, of course, and I'm not a part of that community. So if this, you know, helps, more power to everyone. But I felt like it could have been done a little bit better. But it was really incredible watching their faces during that show, and you know, Miranda's having yet another awakening, and you know, I should just do more of what I want. And you know, Charlotte is thinking about the fact that she wants for her daughter who's questioning her identity to always feel love no matter what. Like Shay always felt love. Even, you know, when she came out, she didn't have a traumatic coming out story, which I think is really good to show that not everyone suffers because of their identities. I thought that was really, really good. Miranda wants to stick around for the after party, but doesn't want the girls to know she's sticking around for the after party. Miranda is trying to be out here and live life. And once again, I continue to feel like there is a vibe between Shay and Miranda. There's obviously a vibe between Shay and Miranda. Like Miranda really wants to get out here and live life. Carrie is feeling very haunted in that apartment and decides that she's going to go home, home being her original apartment, which I kind of love. I think we all kind of love that apartment. It's iconic, as unrealistic as it is. So episode 4, we dive into Charlotte, once again trying to be the super Upper East Side mom and impress Lisa Todd Wexley. And she doesn't want them to just be mom friends. She wants them to be friends. So she wants to have this dinner where she realizes that she and Harry don't really have any black friends. And I was so uncomfortable watching her try to force herself onto the black neighbors in their building. Charlotte has an issue with boundaries. I continue to be annoyed by her. The dinner party ends up getting canceled anyway, and Charlotte and Harry go over to the Wexley's home, which I am not an art person, but I did immediately recognize the Gordon Parks photograph, which I would love to have a Gordon Parks like original like in my house. I'll get there one day. That's a story for another day of why that's important to me. But of course, the mother-in-law is being really harsh, and Charlotte steps in and saves the day, you know, but given that she has a background in art, and kind of defends Lisa Todd Wexley to her mother-in-law, which really endears her to her. So that was a very cute moment, but it was very, very cringe watching this white woman want to assimilate, I guess, or like impress this black woman, and she's becoming so aware of how white her world is, but she's doing it in the most Charlotte way ever. And Charlotte just would not be my type of girl. I can't. Brady's little girlfriend got to learn some manners. I recognize that in our community, we need to rethink the notion of kids need to stay in their place. And we could do a better job of allowing our kids to have more personal autonomy. However, that little girl is taking stuff too far. Like, you don't talk to nobody mama like that. I really do not like that little girl. And I also don't like Brady. And I don't like the way they're navigating this, because I understand you want to be sex positive and not have shame around certain things, but they're getting carried away. And I don't like the whole thing. I do not like those kids. I don't like Brady, and I don't like his little girlfriend, okay? She's rude. You just don't walk around nobody's house like that. You are a child. I don't like it. Carrie decides that she wants to sell her and Big's apartment. That is one of the things that stresses me out the most about when a person passes away, how you manage wrapping up their life, like all of their clothes and all. How do you decide what you want to keep? How do you decide what needs to be given away? How do you decide what needs to be sold? That gives me anxiety. So even that whole thing gave me anxiety. And I really, really loved the realtor, Seema. I loved her energy. I loved her look. I loved her personality. She just seemed like a real, you know, boss bitch. And she was really, you know, trying to be sensitive, but also let her know, like, I'm really good at what I do. We're going to have to get rid of all this. We can go as fast or slow as you want to. But I think even, you know, down to like the Peloton, and like, how were you even in that apartment for that long with the thing that killed him? Like, that Peloton would have been on the street that night, or given to, you know, the doorman or whatever that night. Like, absolutely not. So Miranda gets a dinner date with Dr. Nia Wallace, which is a huge accomplishment for her after she's put her foot in her mouth so many times. And Dr. Nia Wallace is sharing with her that she's having a struggle with fertility, that the first IVF didn't take, and she's wondering if she does not have a kid, will she regret it? And as a 34-year-old woman, that's something that I'm thinking about, that I'm not partnered, but I'm not wealthy enough to have a kid by myself. And I question that as well. And for me, it's not even that I've made a choice of like, oh, my career comes first. I just ain't met no man yet. But I do sometimes wonder, given that all of my friends, almost all of my friends, have children, there is no shortage in my life of babies, of young children. Like, if I want to go play with a baby, I can probably go play with a baby today. Not really, because of the pandemic, but you know what I mean? My life has no shortage of kids. And so I do wonder if that's a journey that I don't get to take for whatever reason. Will I regret it? Will I, you know, but like Miranda said, whatever choices you take or don't take, there's always going to be that question of like the road not taken. So I thought that that was a really relatable content. You know, I'm not their age, but I do understand that question. And then it always comes down to, can we have it all? And I always defer to what Oprah said. You can have it all, but not at the same time. Something's going to fall through the cracks every now and again, and it's okay. So Seema and Carrie are kind of hanging out. They're kind of building a friendship, and Carrie makes a flippant comment about Seema still being on dating apps. And she says, it's good that you're still putting yourself out there. people don't realize the way that they talk to single people, particularly single women, the way that those conversations are navigated. I don't think that people ever really mean any harm, but things can come off as a bit condescending. And Seema ends up confronting Carrie about this because Seema makes a mistake and cracks the frame of the picture of Carrie and Big. And Carrie, I think, kind of like projects her anger onto Seema and, you know, tells her that she just seems like she doesn't actually care about anything. And I like that this conflict happened because I think that the way that you build friendships is by being honest and vulnerable. And I love that in the end, Carrie said, you know, and that's how we became actual friends. Sometimes it really takes those moments, however they come about, of being really, really honest and also vulnerable, but doing so with compassion. And I thought that it was just a good example of like two adults resolving a conflict in a way that's mature, and they were able to move forward. So I love that. Okay, so we saw how Stanford was written out, which really made me sad. He and Anthony are getting a divorce. He is the character is in Asia living his best life, and I'm really going to miss that character, and rest in peace to the actor. That's it for episodes 3 and 4. They didn't give us a whole lot, but we're here. I have been told that things really pick up episodes 5 and 6. Well, episode 5, we'll see for 6. So I will be back to recap those. Let me know what you guys thought about these 2 episodes. Are you still in love with the show? How do you feel about the Natasha storyline resurfacing? Are y'all uncomfortable with Charlotte and Lisa Todd Wexley? I don't know. I just don't like Charlotte. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. And thank you for coming back and joining me despite my unexpected hiatus. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.